you mainly started as for me at least, you're mainly known as a voice actor. But let's kick it back to the beginning. You've done some acting of live theater, but the main thing that interested me the most was the Keith Lowrie duet.
Yes.
You went on for a few years to make music. Take me along on that ride, on how that went.
I can certainly take you along the ride. So I originally wanted to be a guitarist and a composer and conductor, and so I started. I entered the music school at Indiana University in 1973, graduated with highest honors, and went on to get my master's degree. While I was getting my undergraduate degree, actually before I started my undergraduate degree, I met my friend Ron Keith in Indiana, who originally knew my brother who was living there. And so when I came back there to go to school, we got together to see if we could, put something together to play, in venues and make some money. And we started doing that. And as I was getting close to the end of my college, of my bachelor's degree, I started writing quite a bit of music for us. And it turned into something that really went very well. It was just two acoustic guitars. I don't know if you've listened to the music on my YouTube channel. We were playing music that I composed and that Ron composed, and some other covers and stuff like that. And we went on to open for people like Thad Jones, Mel Lewis, Buddy Rich, some pretty heavy hitters in the jazz world and fusion world, and toured around basically the Midwest doing that. Some things happened in my life and in Ron's life that caused the band to break up about midway through the 80s, about 1984. And I got a gig playing guitar and banjo in the pit orchestra of a European tour of a Broadway show, which is where I met Ellen McLean, who I've been married to now for 37 years. And that, and talking to her, well, basically I was kind of lost. I didn't know what to do. I mean, the Keith Lowrie duet had been my life, my whole focus. That was what I wanted to do. And there were just some very tragic things that prevented that from happening. And so I needed to do something else, but I had no idea what. And meeting Ellen, she got me into acting and voice acting. When really, I mean, the first voice acting I ever did when I was working on my master's degree and then my doctorate at Indiana, I just got a gig of being a DJ at an NPR station associated with Indiana University called WFIU. And they asked me to do some radio commercials, which I did. So that was the very first voice acting I did, was on those radio commercials. And then we decided, and I decided I didn't want to get my doctorate. I didn't want to teach music theory. I was not interested in the life in academia. And so I decided that we should move out to Seattle because they had a very active art scene. And I'd never lived in the Pacific Northwest, and I grew up in Colorado, and I wanted mountains to climb if I was not going to be in New York. I mean, Ellen and I lived in New York for a short while, and we tried that. And we realized that we were never going to see each other if we stayed in New York, because when you live in New York as an actor, you're always going out of town. So I said, let's try Seattle. And we moved out sight unseen, just total leap of faith, and immediately started acting out here. And that was in 89. And by 95, I started getting auditions through my agent for video games. And I think the first video games I was in came out in 97, something like that. And around 99, I started getting auditions for Valve games. And Ellen started getting auditions for Valve games very shortly after that. And then we were both in Half-Life 2 and Team Fortress 2. And then she was in Portal, and the rest is history. So I don't know. Does that answer your question?
Yeah. Since you started out as a musician, you were able to adapt and eventually land the role of William the Start Sign Kid in Putt Putt Travels. How was that for you?
This is the first time I've heard the name Putt Putt Travels. So is that it? But I know it through some other name. This is a video game.
Yeah. According to your IMDb page, this was the first game that you voice acted in.
Okay. I don't put that stuff up there. So, and I have to tell you that a lot of the games that I did, particularly early on, I don't remember the names of.
Okay.
Because they and yeah, no, Putt Putt Travel is starting to ring a bell for me now. I think I recorded it down at Bad Animals, which is a studio in Seattle. But I've always been a Mac guy, and
Mm.
all of these games that I was in early on were only on PC, so I didn't get to play any of them.
Oh, okay.
So, but yeah, I will tell you that being a musician has, I mean, training in music and particularly in composition has given me a lot of tools in storytelling, because music and stories, and of course, video games are a kind of story, right? Um, are basically art that takes place in time instead of in space, right? It has a beginning and an end instead of a top and a bottom and a left and a right. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah.
And if I needed some sort of musical chops for, what was the name? Putt Putt who?
I think it was Putt Putt Golf. Oh, Putt Putt Travels.
Putt Putt Travels. Yeah. And I had beaucoup musical chops. I mean, I was one of the best educated musicians that I've worked with, and I've worked with some fine musicians,
Mm.
and some of them that are better musicians than I am, but none that had a better musical education than I did. Yeah, Indiana University had a killer music history program and music theory program and composition program, and it was really, really good.
When you started to get more acclimated as a voice actor, you
Mhm.
had some amazing talents around you, like Mike Shapiro and
Uh-huh.
Ken Boyton. How does those people help you mold into a better voice actor?
Well, actually, they didn't.
Oh, okay.
This is the thing about voice acting, is you never work with anybody,
Okay.
right? You're always in there by yourself. So if Ken and Michael were going in and doing good work, I never heard it, because
Okay.
they were working on their gigs and I was working on mine. So I would say that I was much more influenced and improved by the great theater actors that I got to work with, because
Mm.
theater, you're actually working with other actors 48 hours a week when you're rehearsing, and then 3 hours a day when you're performing. So you get to be around that all the time, and I was constantly watching and analyzing and listening and analyzing what everyone else did.
Okay. Do you think you could name some people that influenced you greatly?
R. Hamilton Wright, uh, who lives here. My very good friend who's now passed away, Bob Morrissey, he had incredible acting chops, and just being around him, and we started climbing mountains together, and so we'd have long conversations about the craft of acting and what it involved and stuff like that. My wife, Ellen McLean, is trained as an actor, and I never really was, and so just being around her and talking with her really was beneficial to me. Let me see who. I mean, I just worked with so many great people. Sorry, I'm blank right now.
You're fine. You're
But
fine.
yeah.
As you continue to get more voice acting roles, you were
Hmm.
eventually able to land the role most people know you for, or at least I know you for, as the sniper.
Uh-huh.
I know that on a previous interview, your wife had commented how the process of that went. How is that? Was that the same for you, or was it different?
Well, how you get into, I mean, how I have gotten every role that I've gotten in a video game is through an audition.
Mm.
For people who are interested in getting into voice acting, first, make sure that you know how to act. And there are places that you can train as a voice actor, because there are some unique things to voice acting that are almost opposite what you do in stage acting, or to a lesser extent, but still film acting. Um, Particularly in video games, because in live acting, they say acting is reacting. You should always take what you're given. Whatever your acting partner is doing, you shouldn't decide that that's wrong. You just take it and respond to whatever that is. In voice acting in video games, you don't have anybody to respond to. You just have lines to read,
Mm-hmm.
and so you actually need to make up the world that you're in with the help of the director. So you need to know how to act. You need a voice demo, and then you need to shop agents and get yourself an agent so you can start getting auditions.
Okay. So you were able to land the role. How was getting those voice lines made? How was the process of that?
So and it's been a while since I've auditioned for a video game, but back in the old days, when I was breaking into the industry,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what they would do is they would They would send you a set of lines, a biography of the character, a short little kind of description of what the character was about and what they were like and stuff like that. And then they would give you some animation, and they might give you a little bit of guidance. Now, the sniper had, an Aussie campaign hat, and the folks at Valve, I'd already worked with them on Half-Life 2. They liked my work, so they definitely wanted to hear from me in Team Fortress 2. And they actually sent me like 4 different characters. But in the sniper, they said, we were thinking about this guy as an Aussie, so you might try an Australian accent. And so I certainly sent them that, and I sent them a couple other accents just in case they might have wanted something else. But they decided they liked the Aussie best, and they pulled me in. But that's basically what you get. You get animation of, well, maybe not animation, maybe just a drawing, a portrait of the character, and a description of what they're like, and then a bunch of lines. And your job as an auditioner is to read those lines into the microphone as that character would say them.
Okay, thank you. So I know you had a lot of lines to go through. Is there anyone in particular that stands out to you that you could recall?
For Sniper?
Yeah.
Oh, well, lots of them. But I mean, I love the Meet the Sniper video. And my phone conversation with my father is what gasses me the most. I just love that.
Being a part of the TF2 community for 17 years, I think it is, I'm sure you've seen all the love you and your character has gotten. What are your general thoughts about that love? How do you respond to that?
Oh, I just think it's a wonderful privilege to be able to help so many people have fun. I think it's very important for people to have fun. We spend a whole lot of our time dealing with problems and trying to solve those problems. And as human beings, we need to be able to take a break and goof around. Mm-hmm. And to be a central part of that goofing around is just a tremendous privilege to me.
Yeah. So as you become more ingrained into TF2 cultures, and you and the other TF2 voice actors have started interacting more and more, at least from my perspective, what made you guys start the Sandwich Saga?
Okay, so first off, I'll tell you, I mean, the reason that I started interacting with the community, back when the Orange Box came out, that was the very first time that we'd ever gotten any fan mail. And I remember our very first piece of fan mail, an email, came to us from Denmark. It was like literally 24 hours after Portal was released. And the guy said that, there are people in the streets of Copenhagen chanting, "The cake is a lie, the cake is a lie." and this is the first inkling we had that we might be famous, that we might be known by people. When I released my novel, Dancing with Eternity. It was published in 2011, which happened to be the same year that Portal 2 was published. Mm-hmm. And when Portal 2 came out, we started getting a lot of interest from people online for us to go to fan cons. And we had never been to a fan con. We'd heard of Comic-Con, and we've heard the jokes about the Star Trek cons and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But we really had no idea the level of participation and the fun that gamers had going to these cons. And we started getting interviews online. Through one way and another, people started hooking us up with fan cons, and it was great for me and it was great for my publisher because I could take my book to all these fan cons and sell it there and get it exposed. But that was in 2011, we started doing that. The funny thing to me is my pals, Dennis Bateman and Gary Schwartz, and now the late, great Rick May, who passed away at the beginning of the COVID epidemic, they had no idea that all this stuff was going on. They just had no idea. Mm-hmm. And occasionally I talked to Dennis or Gary about it, but I didn't really have any idea how to help them get involved more. But slowly this kind of fan base built up, and people around us who wanted to help us built up. And our friend Andrew Ho, whom we met as a fan in one of the first cons we went to back in Atlanta, Georgia, in like 2011, 2012, something like that, moved out to Seattle and started thinking about a reunion of the cast. Mm-hmm. And how cool it would be to get as many mercs together for an appearance as he could. And so he finally did that at PAX West in Seattle a year ago, September. And so, and this is the first time I'd ever met Robin Atkins Down.
Hmm.
Um, so that was the first time that the five of us were together: Robin, Dennis, Gary, Ellen, and me. And when we were at PAX, Robin just had, and Robin had been very, very much active on Twitter and all those platforms, YouTube and all that kind
Hmm.
of stuff. I hadn't really been. But Robin had this idea that we just go into this little delicatessen, this little coffee shop right by the convention, and all ask for a sandwich in our character voices. And he just filmed it and put it up on Twitter, and Twitter went insane. And so we thought, well, okay, we should keep doing this. And at first, if you look at some of the early ones, Robin runs into a 7-Eleven and asks for a sandwich in the medic voice, and I, drive past a billboard and may say some snarky stuff. We're just trying to figure out what we're doing here, and as Robin and I talked back and forth on the phone, we were just trying to figure out what we could do to kind of keep this going and build this up. One of the things was what happened was I thought, okay, well, Dennis at the time was on vacation in Europe or something like that, but I knew that Gary was here, and I thought, well, I could get together with Gary out where he lives and film one with Ellen and me and Gary, and that'd be fun. But it started me thinking that I'd never be able to do that with Robin because he's down in LA, whereas Dennis and Gary and Ellen and I are up here. And so I thought, I have to write this into the plot. So not only is the sandwich stolen, but somebody's kidnapped the medic too. We don't know where he is. And so Robin hopped on that, and he started, filming himself wandering around in the desert, hallucinating to talking rocks and bushes and stuff like that. And but we went out to where Gary lives, and Gary lives in North Bend, Washington, which is where the movie and the TV show Twin Peaks was filmed. And Gary said maybe we could have a kind of a Twin Peaks theme in this one. And I thought, well, I know Liz McCarthy, who was in the movie Twin Peaks, so we'll pull her in because she was just this laughing secretary in the movie, and we'll just have her laugh in the background, and that'll be fun. And so we did that one, and then I just had this idea about doing the next one on the ferry because I could have Bateman doing his Titanic pose at the front of the ferry and all this stupid stuff. I mean, it was really, we were just trying to figure out how we could be as stupid as possible and just run around and do crazy shit. But all those early ones were unedited, just uninterrupted shots. And then I got on the phone with Robin again, and I came up with this idea of the colossal repository of unused stratagems, which spells crust. And I just had this idea that we could do all these kind of sandwich themed things. So we have this evil organization that kidnapped the medic, and it's crust. And so, Robin hopped on and he started filming himself being tortured by the evil head of crust and all this kind of stuff. And I filmed I filmed the one on the ferry, and then the next one I filmed. We have this really cool building that the Central Seattle Public Library is in,
Hmm.
and it's very just wacko and
Right.
science fiction and stuff. We got to film one there, and that'll be the colossal repository. It's a library. It's a colossal repository of unused stratagems, and so that's where we meet Liz as the mysterious woman instead of just the laughing woman.
Hmm.
And we find out about crust there. Robin just had this idea that and Gary was making up stuff, and they came up with this weird code for medic to escape, which actually spelled out lettuce and mayo and stuff like that. And so, but Robin made this one where he's in captivity, and then he's in a library, and then he escapes riding a motorcycle, and it's all edited and has soundtrack music and all this kind of stuff. And I just took that as throwing the gauntlet down. And so that's when I started actually writing scripts, and we did the one on the monorail going to Mopop in Seattle, where we visited, and where we met the agent, mysterious woman, the agent of lunch meat, and she gave us our transportation of the 2008 Toyota Corolla. And so, but it all just kind of grew organically, just a couple of maniacs
Right.
making up stuff. And then I found out I was going to Lima, Peru, so I had to do one with that. And then we were going to Boston, we did one there. And so, just wherever we went, if there was a cool background, then I would make a movie.
Oh, okay. Um, No, that's actually really interesting. I appreciate you sharing that.
Sure.
If I don't know if you guys do plan on creating more, but if you are, is there like anything you could like potentially share? Do you have anything planned?
Oh, well, I think we do plan on making more.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like the first season is kind of wrapped up in a bow with the Crust Strikes Back. I have a few ideas that I'm tossing around. I have some locations that I found that I think are cool. Um, but I think we're going to give people a little bit of a break before we come back strong and start doing season two.
Okay.
But that should probably start sometime around the beginning of the coming year.
Okay. I can't wait. I can't wait. It's been a blessing just to watch that unfold. It's to a community who has frankly been starved of great
Yes,
content.
that's what we got from everybody.
Yeah.
Oh, thank God you guys are doing this. We want content so much.
Yeah.
And I know that, one of the big draws of the sandwich videos is they're like new lines that these characters are saying that everybody can put in their, little memes and whatever they want to create, which I think is hilarious and great.
Going back a little, you had mentioned that you loved interacting with the community. I'm pretty sure. I don't know if you know his actual name, but Shork, has he helped at all interact with the community for you guys?
Shork has been great. Now this is somebody I think that Andrew put us in touch with, or put him in touch with us.
Mm-hmm.
And Shork, I don't want to get this wrong, but I believe he's Danish. He lives in Denmark, and there is I know there's a huge TF2 cosplay community in Sweden, mm-hmm. and in London, and in lots of places. And Shork has just I have learned, just over the last I'd say year, how good he is at helping people promote stuff. And so, yeah, I think that he has been a real great help in putting these things together. Our little Meet the Mercs event that we put together this Labor Day, it's kind of ancillary to PAX West. Mm-hmm. Was helped by his promotion. He's just really good at it. He has got a huge fan base on his Twitter account and all that kind of stuff. And when he put together the voice actors of the Mercs play TF2 for the first time, that was a hilarious idea that he knew that everybody would love, and they absolutely did. Oh, yeah. And when what was the name of the magazine? PC Gamer came out and very jokingly said, these guys suck at TF2 basically. Then he wanted to put together me with this footage of like the best sniper player in the universe playing sniper, and it was just a great joke. We really enjoyed that.
Do you think for your first experience you would play the game after that?
Well, I mean, I tried it when it first came out, and it was just so fast that I couldn't figure it out. Mm-hmm. And I know that when we were playing it, the people that Short got to play against us were being extremely kind to us. Or we would have just been headshot. But no, it's a great game. It's a very funny game. I mean, the motion, the mechanics and stuff like that are very entertaining and hilarious. I'm just a little bit shy because my Steam name is John Patrick Lowrie, so everybody would know it was me. Right. And I just I don't know. I haven't done it yet.
Okay. For the final serious question here, if there was anything, I know you've touched on it previously, but if there's anything you could say to aspiring voice actors, what would it be?
Don't cast yourself out. Don't say I have the wrong kind of voice. Don't say I'll never make it as a voice actor. You probably won't. Not very many people do. But there are plenty of people who can reject you. Never reject yourself. Get your chops, learn how to act, put your voice demo together, and audition. Never listen to anybody who says you don't have any talent. Never listen to anybody who says you don't have any skill unless they're a good teacher and can give you that skill. But games need all different kinds of voices. There isn't the best kind of voice to have. My voice is completely different from Gary's, completely different from Dennis's, completely different from Robin's, and completely different from my wife's. So just keep that in mind. There is no right voice for a video game voice actor.
Do you think for the voice actors potentially studying theater like you did would help?
Yeah. The important part of voice acting is acting. So the great thing about working in theater is that you get to work with a lot of other actors. This means some of the actors are going to be much better than you, and you can watch them and see what to do. Other actors are going to be worse than you, and you can watch them and see what not to do. Learn a tremendous amount by working with other people, and working with directors and stuff like that. Basically, and if you want to make your living in the performing arts, don't close yourself in. Don't say, what I want to do is be a voice actor in video games. What you want to do is be an actor, and you will take any job that you can get, because if you are making your living as an actor, that means you're going to be available for auditions. If you have to have a day job, that's going to mean you're going to be a lot less available for auditions.
Hmm.
So don't say, I just want to do this one thing. I only want to do first person shooters. I mean, no, it's crazy. You want to do all video games, and then you want to do all acting, which means if you get a gig in a commercial, if you get a gig in a movie or a TV show, if you get a gig in a stage play, you take it, because that's money that you're making acting, which means you're spending your time acting, which means you're improving your chops, you're working on your craft, and you're getting better.
All right. Thank you. What is it like having a whole generation of people know your work and talents?
Well, it's just a gas.
Right.
I mean, the first time that I was famous was as a guitarist, and that kind of got me used to meeting people on the street that I didn't know that knew me, obviously,
Mhm.
and talking to those people. And and early on, I felt that that if I was going to pursue this life, part of my work would be to basically take care of the folks that knew me that I didn't know. That if somebody wanted to come up and talk to me, that I would talk to them and see how they're doing and stuff like that. Because sometimes, when a famous person treats you like you matter, that can make a really big difference to a person.
Right.
And both Ellen and I have had a wonderful time interacting with people as people, not as fans,
Hmm.
and talking to them about what they're doing and what they're up to. And we've met people who were going through some pretty rough times, and it was amazing to me how much just a little interaction with us lifted their spirits and enabled them to go forward. So it's just been a real privilege the whole way down. It can be kind of taxing. I
Hmm.
mean, you can only have so many friends, and lots of people think that they're our friends, and so I have to be good at keeping good boundaries, which fortunately I am. I have a really good tool set on not having a problem with saying, I need to take a break now, and maybe
Hmm.
we can talk later. Um, but overall, it's been wonderful seeing the global nature of video game playing. What makes me so optimistic is meeting people who have friends in England and Dubai and New Zealand and China and all over the world, and these are people they really feel they know well. And to meet people at fan cons who got to know each other playing a video game, fell in love with each other without ever having seen what the other one looks like, and
Hmm.
coming to a fan con to get married. And it's a great relationship because they've had this kind of foxhole experience of having each other's backs in these video games. And you can just tell the relationship is really, really solid, with this really solid foundation. And I just love that. I love that people can meet each other like this on a almost mind to mind, soul to soul level,
Hmm.
without who has the better clothes or who has the better car or whatever
Right.
getting in the and that has made me very, very happy and very optimistic.
Yeah. I seeing all that love go to you. It. I'm sure it can be overwhelming at times.
Well, yeah. I mean, you just have to kind of manage it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
We have so much energy, and we have so much ability to. Now, unfortunately for me, I'm kind of naturally an extrovert, which means that I'm kind of fed by interaction with other people. Ellen is naturally an introvert, and while she enjoys other people, she'll run out of gas. She'll
Mhm.
need to go away and need to be alone for a while.
Okay. So you said you had a lot of great interactions with fans. Is there one you could recall that points out in your head the most?
Oh God, I mean, most recently I got to have dinner with three of my pals from Santiago, Chile, and they're just such great folks. And they came up and they met me at a TI Dota 2 Ti a few years ago, and they came up again this year, and it was so great to see them again. Um, I remember some pals that I made down in Lima when I was down there the first time, and then got to see them again the second time that I was there. Friends that I've made in Sweden, because we've gone to NERCON in Sweden 3 times and really got to develop some relationships over there. Great friends that are made in England from going to fan cons over there. Uh, and then the fans we've made various places in the States, or the friends we've made. Somehow it seems like the farther away we go, the cooler it is somehow. I mean, when we went to Dubai and I got to meet a whole bunch of, young Emirati, young Arab Muslim people who loved TF2 and, just, thought it was a gas that we were in video games, and to have, two cultures that seemingly different, absolutely meeting heart to heart in this one area, and that really, really moved me a lot.
I know you've enjoyed your time as a voice actor. Is there something in the industry that you see happening, or something in the video game industry in general, that you wish would be changed?
I mean, the nice thing about voice acting is I think that voice actors, both in animation and in video games, were ahead of the curve on inclusion. If it's just a voice, it doesn't matter what you look like. Old, young, any ethnicity, any, ancestry, didn't matter. And I'm glad to see the rest of the industry catching up. I mean, I have always been treated very well by everyone that I worked with. So I can't say that I really have any complaints about the nature of the industry. A lot of the stuff that you run into in film and television and the music industry and stuff like that has to do with what you look like. And so if you're young and beautiful, you can get a whole lot of harassment. Now I have known, my friend, the voice of Cortana, Jen Taylor.
Yeah.
Jen Taylor, very beautiful young woman. And, her first experiences at fan cons were not that positive because some young guys, get too excited. They don't know how to keep their distance. But I think that fan cons have done a great job and have had a very steep learning curve of how to keep people safe. I mean, it'd be great if we could get residuals. That'd be nice. For all of the copies of Portal and Team Fortress 2 and stuff that were sold, all that Ellen and I ever got from Valve were session fees, but they're very nice session fees.
Right.
And we've gotten so much else out of it that it's just very hard for us to complain about anything. And I don't really know of any kind of abuses. I know that an actor friend of mine, a female actor, was worried that some of her, one of the things you do in video games is have reactions, right? Like, you're getting shot, you're getting hit and stuff like that. And she was worried that some people online were taking her voice reactions and putting them into stuff and stuff like that as sexual sounds, and that upset her. And I told her, well, the voice of the sniper, I think, is in every homoerotic fan fiction that there is in the world. So I don't know if I can, Sony can't protect their intellectual property. I don't know how we'll be able to protect ours. But there is developing a new economy where it kind of doesn't matter that people, and this is what Valve kind of pioneered, we'll just give away everything and sell little things to make the game better. Because they learned early on they could publish a game on October 1st, and by October 2nd it was pirated and being sold by other people. So that's a challenge. Protecting intellectual property is a challenge. But as far as the industry itself of how video games interact with voice actors, I really think that they're doing a pretty good job. At least the companies that I have interacted with, I really don't have any complaints about.
That's good. I'm glad you're able to be grateful of the things you have. Not saying that you aren't, but yeah.
Well, yeah, no. It's very nice, and yeah, we could, I could gripe that we're not getting paid enough, but when I go out to Valve, I make in 2 hours what somebody in Bangladesh makes in 5 years. So I mean, me complaining about not making enough money would be very karmically awful, I think.
Okay. Trying to get into more of the mindset of the actual sniper himself.
Yes.
In all of the US, and you can go to other countries if you'd like, what would be his ideal camping spot?
Where would Sniper like to camp? I think that he would like to camp in Canyonlands National Park in Utah.
I could see that. I could see that.
Yeah, yeah. I think he would find no end of cool places. Pull off the old truck and set up the campfire.
Yeah. What's the difference between a crazed gunman and an assassin?
Well, one is a profession and the other is mental sickness. I mean, Dad, put Mom on the phone. That's the difference.
Thank you so much. You've been a great blessing.
You're very welcome. And please let me know. Send me a link, whatever you can. Okay, wankers, support Mann Magazine.